Hello all, I'm Marin. Welcome to another reading vlog. This is going to be my first vlog revolving around all of the books that I wanted to read in 2025, or rather should have read in 2025 and did not. So I will go ahead and link you to my 2025 book haul up in the cards, but I went over all of the books that I picked up throughout the course of 2025, and I talked about how I didn't read hardly any of them. So my goal this year is to read at least 65% of the remaining books from that list, and I'm going to do that by using a jar to pull out 3 random books, which I'm then going to read in this vlog. So in here are all of the books that I bought last year that are not already earmarked for other vlogs, if that makes sense, because I have already created TBRs for my 1 week, 1 genre vlogs, which I'm also doing this month. So those books are not in here. So I'm gonna go ahead, mix it around, and we're gonna pull out 3 books, and those are the books that you're gonna see me read in this vlog. So here we go. I just typed these up on Microsoft Word and then I folded them up, so that's kind of how I created this. So let's pull one out. Okay, I think I have 1. Nope, I have 2. So I'm gonna do this one. And our first book. Aha, okay. The first book is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is actually a book that I purchased in 2024 and I was supposed to read in 2025 because it was on my fall TBR and I didn't read it. So that's actually a really good start. I'm glad to go ahead and get started on this one. Let's go ahead and pull the second book. So here we go. Let's do this one. Okay. This one is Divine Might. This is all about like the goddesses, I think. I read a book by this author this year and liked it okay, but I'm hoping that this one will go even better. So I'm gonna pull all the books off the shelf in a minute. Let's go ahead and pick the third book though. So our final book for this vlog is going to be this one, which is, okay. This is Wakenhyrst by Paver. She writes ghost stories, and I really liked the book that I read by her last year, which I am blanking on the name, but here's a cover image. I really liked that. The audio was spectacular. So these are actually 3 really good picks. Let me pull these books off the shelf and then we'll kind of go over synopses. Okay, so here is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Most people know this one, but this is about a werewolf and a vampire that are married as like a political alliance. It's paranormal romance. So I've heard that a lot of people have really liked it, but I've also heard that other people have not. I don't mind paranormal romance, so hopefully this will go well. I have liked almost everything I've read by Ali Hazelwood, so we'll see if I can add this one to the list. I know the sequel to this one just came out, so it's kind of perfect that I'm going to go ahead and get this read early in the year so I can see if I want to pick up the sequel. But yes, that's Bride. The second one was Divine Might. This is by Natalie Haynes and it says Goddesses in Greek Myth. I read Pandora's Jar by her last year as a buzzword pick. I was expecting it to be more of a retelling, when in reality it was more of like a academic deep dive into the story. So I'm guessing that's what this one's going to be as well. This one will obviously be focusing on goddesses though. Let me kind of take a look and see if they've got, yeah. So we have the Muses, Hera, Aphrodite, Artemis, Demeter, Hestia, Athena, and the Furies. So yeah, that's going to be right in line with the other one. Knowing that that's how the first one worked though, I think this one might go a little bit better. That one really took me aback. Like I said, I was expecting stories and I got academics instead. So that will be the second book. Then the third one, as you already saw, is going to be Wakenhyrst by Paver. This one I'm pretty sure is a haunted house story. Yeah. A manor house stands alone in a lost corner of the fens, a glinting wilderness of water whose whispering reeds guard ancient secrets. Maud is a lonely child growing up without a mother, ruled by her repressive father. When he finds a painted medieval devil in a graveyard, unhallowed forces are awakened. So yeah, it's going to be a haunted house story, it looks like. I, as I've already mentioned, read a book by her last year, which was called Dark Matter. It was kind of historical horror, so I'll be curious to see if that one kind of falls into the same vein. I have another book by her on my winter TBR for this year as well, so I will pretty much be able to cross off all of her books within the first 3 months of the year, which is pretty awesome. So, okay. That's gonna be the picks for this vlog. I'm looking forward to giving them a read. So without further ado, let's get started on Bride. All right, I am about halfway through Bride. I think I'm a little over halfway through. I am on chapter 18. So just to give a quick recap about what this book is even about, we are following Misery, she is a vampire, and Lo, who is a werewolf. They are married in a marriage of convenience to create an alliance between the weres and the vampires. Their wedding is the first time they meet each other, and I had to laugh a little bit because it took me back to reading Twilight for the first time when Bella sits next to Edward in biology class or science class, and he like physically recoils from her scent, and she takes it to mean that he finds her scent repulsive. That's what happens here. Lo meets Misery while they are standing in front of the crowd at their wedding, and he like recoils from her scent, which she takes to mean that she smells bad, and obviously we as a reader know that is not the case. I will say this has taken a while to get steamy. I was fully expecting this to be much more smutty than it has been thus far because it's paranormal romance. And so I had like a preconceived notion in my head about what was going to happen here. But for the first half, we really are setting things up. So Lo is the new alpha of his pack. He defeated Roscoe, who was the former alpha, and Roscoe's mate, Emery, has been causing some issues within the pack, although they can't completely pinpoint that it's her. So at the point that I am at, they have gone to meet with Emery and some other weres, and they are trying to set something up so that they can actually get proof that Emery is the one causing these disturbances and things. So at the chapter I just finished, which was chapter 17, that's where we actually got smutty. And it was not like in-your-face smut. It was worded in a way that, if you are a fan fiction reader, would allow you to post this on a non-explicit archive. Okay, so it really was not as descriptive as I was expecting. I know that that does come later, but at this point, it's been pretty tame. Also, we had a little bit of a scene in the chapter or two before because Lo has to mark Misery with his scent in order to signal to the other weres there that she is under his protection and she's not to be messed with, because obviously there's a lot of animosity between weres and vampires. So anyway, Misery has an ulterior motive for agreeing to the marriage, which she has revealed to Lo at this point, and they are definitely like more accepting of their feelings for each other at this point and things like that. That being said, Misery believes that Lo has a mate that has been sent to the vampires as collateral, so there's some issues there. But anyway, that's the extent of this. I'm actually quite enjoying this. I don't know if it's going to be a 5-star, but I am definitely enjoying it. The audio is very well done. We are getting Misery's POV, as she tends to do with her books. She writes from the woman's or the female's POV. And this time, though, she has included little lines from Lo at the start of each chapter. So the one that I'm coming on to, it says, her presence soothes him more than a full moon run. So little snippets like that you're getting at the start of each chapter that are from Lo's POV. So anyway, yes, I'm liking it. I am hoping to get this done today because it is Wednesday, and that is about what I laid out for this book to be finished. I've not been listening as much to my audiobook at work as I typically do. It's been difficult to get back into the swing of things. By the time my plan time comes around in the afternoon, I'm exhausted. So I'm hoping to finish this today. It says I have 3 hours and 15 minutes left of the audio, so should definitely be doable. So hopefully I will be able to give you full thoughts and things like that. But so far so good. I have 0 complaints. So I will let you know if that changes and give you full thoughts and things once it is complete. All right, all, I have finished Bride, and I was waffling a bit on the rating, whether I was going to give it a 4 or 5, and I've ultimately decided to go with the 5. This book reminded me in a very good way of the days when I would sit and read copious amounts of fan fiction, just chapter after chapter after chapter. This book gave me those kind of vibes, probably because of like the paranormal aspects, and it just put me in a really good mood. So I had a smile on my face pretty much throughout this entire book. I really liked the build-up between the two main characters. I liked, I guess, some of the danger elements that come into play in the latter half, and it just was a cozy feeling. That's what I had through this whole thing, and I am all about the cozy feelings. So I've decided to go ahead and give it a 5. I just think that this was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I gave it a read. That being said, I do not know if I am going to go ahead and read Mate, which is the standalone companion to this one, because I'm not sure that the summary of that one is what I really want from a paranormal book. That one is probably gonna have a lot more smut, and sometimes that's just not what I want in a book. This one had enough going on outside of the smut, which really doesn't even happen till like the second half of the book, to keep me invested in the story. And I'm just not sure that I need or want to read a book about two werewolves going at it all the time. And that's all I'll say about that. I could potentially be persuaded to read it, but there's going to have to be more happening in the book than the smut. That's just what I'll say. I really need the cozy vibes to get into that book, I think. This one had all of that in spades, and I just had a fantastic time with it. So I'm going to give it 5 stars. I do not think I liked it as much as The Love Hypothesis or Check and Mate, both of which were also 5 stars by Ali Hazelwood, but this one was pretty much everything I wanted from it, so I went ahead and gave it that 5 star. Maybe it's slightly generous in terms of what I would normally do for books, but yeah, 5 stars. That's just, I'm happy with that. So 5 stars for this one, and I'm really glad that this one came out of the jar, because I don't know when I would have actually gotten to this had I not pulled it from the jar. So yes, this was a fantastic way to start off this vlog. So now let me go ahead and talk very briefly about the book I'm going to be reading next. That one is Divine Might by Natalie Haynes, as I've already talked about. This one is, as I've already mentioned, an academic look at the Greek goddesses, so I'll be curious to see if there's anything new that comes out of this. I am pretty well versed in the stories of the Greek gods and goddesses, so yes, this will be up next. This is more of a nonfiction book, so hopefully I can get through this pretty quickly. It's not that long, but we'll see how it goes. It is currently Wednesday, by the way, so it took me 3 days to get through this, and that is not because I didn't enjoy the book. It was just because I did not have time, as much time I should say, to listen to the book at work as I would typically have. So hopefully I can get this one done in the next 2 days. We will see, because of course I still have Wakenhyrst as well that I need to read. So anyway, let me stop talking. It's time to get into Divine Might. All right, all, I am 4 chapters through Divine Might, which is pretty much the halfway point. So I've read about the Muses, Hera, Aphrodite, and Artemis, and I wouldn't say that any of these were particularly standouts, in my opinion. There were a lot of references to like pop culture things. So the Muses chapter kicks off with her talking about the Disney film Hercules, because the Muses are featured in that movie. And she is basically talking about each of these Greek goddess slash beings in terms of the wrath that they wrought on others, for lack of a better term, particularly when it comes to Hera. Okay, so as we know, Hera is a very vengeful goddess, and she definitely is was recounting a lot of the things that Hera did. And I don't know that really anything new came out of this. The one thing I do know is that I need to read the Metamorphoses by Ovid, because she mentions that a lot, and that's actually been on my radar, and for some reason I've just never picked it up. I am very curious to read that because that is, I guess, the main source material for several myths. So I would be very interested in reading that. That's what I got out of this first 4 chapters, basically, was a reminder that I need to look into that, because I wouldn't necessarily say that, again, anything is like particularly standout in anything that I've read. So that's kind of my lackluster review. I do like Natalie Haynes' style of writing. She can be very tongue-in-cheek. She has a sense of humor, so there are moments where you laugh out loud at what she is saying. She interjects like asides into her stories, which are funny. She also quotes other writers from like ancient Greece who would do the same thing, and so that's kind of funny as well. But again, I don't really feel like anything new happened in this one. The one thing that I will say maybe I wasn't quite as familiar with was the role of the gods and goddesses in the Iliad, because it has been a really long time since I have read portions of the Iliad. I do want to read the whole thing from start to finish. So while I knew about the sacrifice of Iphigenia, I think is her name, the daughter of Clytemnestra and Agamemnon, in order to get the Greeks sailing to Troy. I was aware of that, but I was not really aware that it was Artemis that she was sacrificed for, and Artemis actually played quite a role in the Trojan War. So that I was not as familiar with. So I guess that is something new that I learned. And again, it's kind of made me want to read the Iliad, which I already want to do. But yeah, it would be nice to kind of have like the full story of this, because she does, or rather, I should say, in Pandora's Jar, she talked a lot about Penelope, who is Odysseus's wife, and I think she's going to come back up in this one as well when it comes to, I think it's Athena's chapter. I can't remember, because I feel like it's Athena that helped get Odysseus back home. I feel like Athena's the one that like always like intervened for him, but anyway, I'm not to that one yet, so I might be mixing up the goddesses. But yes, of these 4 that I've read, probably the Muses was the most interesting, because they were the goddesses that I maybe was not as familiar with, but I do like the little inclusions of mentions of the Trojan War and the Odyssey and things like that, because I have read the Odyssey and I've read a bunch of the Iliad, but not the whole thing. So I guess that's kind of my very rambly initial review for the start of this. So I will be finishing this off hopefully today, but I don't know. I didn't get very much time to read yesterday because I had a very full schedule. So I'm hoping I can get through these last 4 chapters today, but it might have to carry into the weekend. But I will be reading about Demeter, Hestia, Athena, and the Furies. So hopefully those will be a little bit more exciting, because I feel like so far this book is just fine. So we'll see how it goes. All right, I have finished Divine Might. Divine Might. Okay, so I'm giving this 3.5 stars. I did not like this as much as Pandora's Jar. I think part of that is because I was already familiar with a lot of what happened in this book. I think Pandora's Jar was a little bit more interesting because it talked about some people that I was not as familiar with. So it was learning something new, whereas this was kind of just reasserting things that I already knew, if that makes sense. So I did enjoy 2 of the chapters in this second half. So this second half followed Demeter, Hestia, Athena, and the Furies. And I would say that my 2 favorite chapters from the whole book were the chapters on Hestia and Demeter. Demeter's chapter obviously focuses a lot on Persephone, but it also pays tribute to the fact that Demeter just refused to stop seeking justice for her daughter's abduction to the underworld. So she goes very scorched earth, and she lets everyone know that she is not happy. And because she won't stop, they have to give her some kind of reparation. Now, of course, it still means that Persephone has to spend some of the time in the underworld and some of the time with her, but it definitely focused on the fact that she truly loved her daughter. And I think that that is one of the few cases of a god or goddess like really going after justice and showing how much they care about their child. I feel like the other gods and goddesses are very often just kind of lackadaisical when it comes to their children. They don't seem to care about them as much as Demeter does Persephone. So I did enjoy that chapter about Demeter. I wouldn't say that that was anything new, but it was nice to read and to see some of the instances of other Greek writings that really showcased how strong Demeter was. So I enjoyed that. The other one that I enjoyed, as I said, was about Hestia. Hestia is a goddess that tends to get forgotten. She is the goddess of the hearth. And I liked her chapter because she was a much more gentle goddess. Maybe that's a good way to put her. So my first real learning about Hestia was in the final Percy Jackson book, The Last Olympian. She is the last Olympian mentioned in the title because she is the goddess of the hearth and her job is to keep the fires burning for those who return home. So I just like her whole backstory, and she gives up her spot on Olympus to Dionysus, and she kind of just is forgotten because of that. But I liked that chapter, learning a little bit more about her. Again, I wouldn't say that anything was necessarily new information, but I did like the way that her chapter was written. So those would be my standout chapters from this. But overall, I just felt like there was something a little lacking in the writing to truly keep me invested. As I said, she has some laugh out loud funny moments, so I did enjoy those. So I just found my mind wandering a little bit while I was listening to the audio, which was a little unexpected because I do really like Greek mythology. Goodness, I can't talk. So yeah, so 3.5 stars for this one. I don't think it was as good as Pandora's Jar. And honestly, the more I'm thinking about this book and that book, I think I'm going to go ahead and give these 2 books away because I'm just not sure. Well, actually, no. I know that I am not ever going to reread them or reach for them or probably even think about them because much of the information from the chapters of this have kind of left my head already, and I just finished the book. So it's fine. It's a nice overview of the goddesses. It would give you a lot of information if you aren't familiar with them. She does have a nice writing style, but I don't think that this is the be-all end-all. So 3.5 stars is what I'm settling on because I didn't like it as much as Pandora's Jar, but it's not a straight 3-star either, if that makes sense. I'm kind of all over the place with this one, honestly, but yes, it is finished. So that's another, actually no, Bride was a 2024 purchase. This is my first 2025 purchase that I can cross off, so at least it has that going for it. But yes, anyway, this one's done. There you go. Now I'm going to turn my attention to Wakenhyrst, and I'm going to try to get done with this in one day. So wish me luck. I will let you know how it goes. All right, all. I have finished Wakenhyrst. I actually just read this over the course of a single day. And while I didn't like this quite as much as Dark Matter, it definitely had some of the same vibes of Dark Matter that I enjoyed. So this is a gothic historical book with some horror and mystery elements. We are following Maud, who at the start of the book is almost 70 years old, and she is recounting the truth behind her father's killing of a local man. And she is, I guess, setting the record straight. Her father was put into a sanatorium and he became this painter, and he was painting, and his paintings became kind of famous. And so people have questions regarding the paintings and then what ultimately actually happened. So she is telling the story of what basically led to her father being put into the sanatorium. So that's kind of the setup of this. I thought this was like a haunted house book. As I said in the intro, that's not the case. This is definitely more leaning into, I guess, religion and demons specifically. And it's told via Maud's POV when she was younger, and then her father's journal entries. And through the journal entries, you can kind of see his descent into madness as things are revealed. So that's kind of the setup of this. I did really enjoy this. The audiobook is well narrated. It just didn't quite give me the creepy vibes that Dark Matter did. Dark Matter was a ghost story, so that's maybe the difference. This one's not a ghost story, so maybe that's why this one didn't work quite as well for me. And again, I was thinking it was something different than it is, but I still really enjoyed it. I would recommend her books. I think she's a very phenomenal writer when it comes to the vibes, like setting the tone of the book. So yes, this is dark gothic. I really, really enjoyed it, and it just wasn't quite Dark Matter. So I'm giving it 4 stars. Still a fantastic book, would still recommend. I have one other book by her that I own, which is Thin Air. That is on my winter TBR, so I will be reading that at some point in the first quarter of the year. But yes, this one was a good one. 4 stars, no complaints. Very much enjoyed this. So that is going to be the final book for this vlog. I did have to, as I said, read this one in one sitting because I was running out of time to film this vlog, but I still really enjoyed it. It was a good ending, and I can end this vlog with 3 books off of my physical TBR. 2 were from 2025 purchases, 1 was from 2024, but still, we're working towards that goal. So yes, that's gonna do it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. If you made it to the end of this video and would like to leave an emoji to show you were here, you can leave a house emoji in honor of Wakenhyrst, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.